I stood in the corner holding a diaper cake I had spent 3 hours making. Pink balloons floated near the ceiling, fairy lights stretched across the walls. Laughter bounced around the room like confetti. My sister sat in the center of it all, glowing beneath the decorations, smiling as everyone celebrated her future. I smiled too, or at least I tried, because sometimes you smile not because you're happy, but because you're still trying to understand what's happening. Then my mother stood and lifted her glass. "To our princess," she said with a grin, "and to her beautiful new home." Applause filled the room. I didn't clap, because that beautiful new home was my apartment, the apartment I worked overtime to afford, the apartment I renovated room by room, the apartment I painted, furnished, repaired, and built into a life. My father pulled out a folder and handed it to my sister with a dramatic smile, as if revealing a surprise prize. She opened it and gasped, "Oh my gosh, you guys actually did it." More applause, more smiles, more celebration. I looked around waiting for someone, anyone, to look confused. No one did. No one asked, "Wait, wasn't that hers?" No one looked at me. Not one person. And in that moment, I realized something painful. Sometimes people become so used to your giving that they stop seeing it as generosity. They start seeing it as obligation. I quietly placed the diaper cake on the table. Then I walked out. No slammed door, no dramatic speech, no tears, just silence. Because some heartbreak is too deep for noise. The next morning, I sat in my apartment with coffee growing cold beside me. I looked around the space, the shelves I installed, the light fixtures I picked out, the little details no one noticed except me. Every corner carried a memory, and suddenly I wasn't sad anymore. I was clear. There's a difference. Sadness asks, "Why did this happen?" Clarity says, "Now I know." I started gathering documents, receipts, payment records, purchase histories, lease agreements, emails, everything. Because I didn't need anger, I needed truth. And truth has a very quiet voice. By afternoon, my pee-hone started lighting up. My mother, my father, my sister, voicemail after voicemail. "You're overreacting. It's family. Why are you making this difficult?" Funny thing about boundaries, people who benefited from your lack of them often call them selfish. I didn't answer. I wasn't avoiding them. I was listening to myself for the first time in years. Over the next few days, I discovered something surprising. Once you stop carrying everyone else's expectations, you suddenly have room to carry yourself. I remembered all the moments I'd ignored. The times I paid for family dinners because you're doing well. The birthdays where I bought gifts while receiving little more than obligation. The late night calls. The financial help. The endless understanding. I had spent years proving my love by giving pieces of myself away. And somewhere along the way, I forgot that love without boundaries becomes exhaustion. My sister finally showed up at my door. Her eyes were red, not angry, confused. "Why are you doing this?" she asked softly. I looked at her for a long moment, because honestly, I had asked myself the same question. Why was I doing this? Was it about the apartment? No, not really. The apartment was just walls. This was about something bigger. I sat down across from her. "You know what hurts?" I asked. She stared at me. "Not losing a place." I shook my head. "It's realizing people assumed they could take from you without asking." Tears filled her eyes. "I didn't think." I nodded gently. "I know." And that was the problem. She hadn't thought, because no one ever had to. I had always made things easier, always fixed things, always adjusted, always carried more than I should, until carrying everyone else became my identity. Weeks passed, conversations happened, difficult conversations, the kind where nobody wins, the kind where truth sits in the room and makes everyone uncomfortable. My parents eventually admitted they thought I would simply accept it, because I always had before. That hurt, but strangely, it also set me free, because for the first time I saw the pattern clearly. And once you see a pattern, you can't unsee it. I decided to sell the apartment. People thought I was crazy. "You fought so hard for it," they said. "Why let it go?" Because I wasn't letting go. I was moving forward. There's a difference. Sometimes places hold too much history, too much pain, too many reminders of the person you used to be. And I didn't want to stay inside a version of my life I'd already outgrown. 2 days later, it sold. Full price, no negotiations, simple, clean, done. I bought a smaller place after that, nothing extravagant, just quiet. Sunlight in the mornings, bookshelves near the windows, a little balcony where I could drink coffee and hear birds instead of arguments. For the first time in years, I slept peacefully. Real sleep. The kind where you don't replay conversations in your head. The kind where your heart finally stops preparing for disappointment. Months later, I got a message from my sister. Just 2 words. "I understand." I stared at it for a long time. Then I smiled. Not because everything was fixed. Not because everything was perfect. But because growth doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes growth is simply someone seeing what they couldn't see before. I sent a gift after her baby arrived. A children's book. Inside the cover, I wrote, "May she grow up knowing that kindness is powerful, but boundaries are too." No long letter, no speech, just that. Because healing doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it arrives quietly, like sunlight slipping through a window. A few weeks later, I walked past my old neighborhood. I stopped across the street from my old building. New curtains, new people, a new beginning for someone else. I smiled, not because I missed it, because I didn't. For years, I thought strength meant holding everything together, holding people close, holding families together, holding on no matter what. But I learned something different. Sometimes strength is letting go. Sometimes strength is saying no. And sometimes strength is walking away without shouting, without explaining, without proving anything, just quietly choosing yourself. Because the truth is, I never lost an apartment. I found my voice, and it turned out that was worth far more than any set of walls ever could be.